Hello guys, welcome back to another Joe Weather video. Today I'll be taking a look at our winter outlook for 2021-2022 part 2 and the winter storm, actually our first winter storm of the year that is going to be affecting the Colorado Rockies and a few other states as shown by this map right here by the watches, warnings, and advisories. If we get started here, as you can see in the pink area, you have anywhere from Montana, Wyoming, and Idaho. You can see there is winter storm warnings in effect. And in this purple area, you have winter storm advisories, and this dark bluish color over here, those are your winter storm watches, where the possibility it could either go to advisory or warning depending on the track of the storm. This area over here could either be a boom or bust area depending how cold it gets. You could see anywhere from some models do show a foot of snow, the colder models, or you could see barely anything for the warmer models. If we take a look out in the west, you have numerous watches, warnings, advisories. And if you take a look down here, all these warnings and advisories are posted down here. So you have freeze watches, you also have frost advisories, and there's a few red flag warnings in the mountains, it looks like. If I'm incorrect on that, let's take a quick closer look on it. Hopefully it will show up. And yeah, it does look like to be a red flag warning there. So as we go back to our page here, you can see down in Southern California, you have high wind watches and warnings, it looks like. And down here by Texas, you do have that as well. Also, one last thing I forgot to mention, there is wind advisories down here in Southern California, Arizona, due from the storm that is going to be coming. And as you see, anywhere past this line really, to the east of it, it is pretty clear. You have some coastal flood advisories and warnings and statements out here in the East Coast by New York City, Philadelphia, just south of Philadelphia and into Maryland, Delaware area. But besides that, it is pretty calm in the East Coast. Now, before I get started with the storm that's going to be affecting the Rockies, I just want to show you the snow cover that is going on in Alaska, some parts of Europe, but the big factor is Siberia in Russia and the Arctic ice cover. And as you can see, as time goes on, at the time is in the bottom right of your screen, the ice starts to increase. This is the ice right there, and as you can see, it starts to increase rapidly actually. And then this was your snow by September 17th, and now by October 11th and 10th, you could see that it is pretty widespread in Siberia, and even touching down into some parts of China, northern China, Mongolia. So if this were to continue rapidly growing, you could expect the cold shots to be more on the significant side. This is what you look on for winter outlooks, which also played a part into my winter outlook on the last video. And if you haven't checked that video out already, please go back, like, subscribe that video, and come back and like and subscribe on this video. I would truly do appreciate the support on the last video. But back to here, you can see that in Alaska and northern Canada, you can see that the snow is increasing as well. So if this were to play out and significantly keep increasing like it is right now, you could see more potent cold shots throughout the year. Now, finally, the last thing that I want to talk about in the winter outlook, but I didn't have enough time, is the polar vortex. As you can see, this tight ball right here is your polar vortex that keeps all the cold air locked up. If you want to visit this on your own time, you just got to go to GFS, Northern Hemisphere, click that, and then you got to go to Upper Dynamics and click the 10 millibar temp and height. And as you can see, the colder area is your polar vortex, and this tight ball is your polar vortex with the low inside of that keeps it all together. Now, if you continue to play out with this model, you can see that the polar vortex starts to shift around a little bit, especially towards the end of it, and almost starts to look like it's getting stretched more. See how it is there? And if we go back to what it was at the 0, you can see that it's more in a tight ball. Yeah, I'll do this. It was more in a tight ball right here. Mess it up a little, but that's alright. But if we go to 228-ish and continue on, you can see how it becomes more stretched. These sides become more in, and as you can see, it starts to become even more stretched, going towards this more of a look. It starts to get stretched all the way back from Eurasia all the way down into the East Coast almost. Now, what I really noticed last year, that the polar vortex was sitting mostly over this area right here. It would bounce. Oops, sorry about that. It would sit around this area in Greenland, Canada area, and that's where the bigger storms towards the end of the year came for the Northeast. As of right now, it doesn't really matter where it is. If it does start to split, though, when it splits into two polar vortex, where one sits over here, maybe another one comes over here, it usually takes a month or two to come down to the surface. So if this were to happen, let's say it does split, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but just for example, it splits in November, you could see the cold shots of a polar vortex come down from anywhere from December to January. But if that does happen, it would look like to be a very bad winter in terms of cold and snow for parts of the US and even into parts of Europe and Eurasia. Now, we will get started on the winter storm that is going to be affecting the Colorado Rockies. As you can see, it is already kind of starting. This is 2 p.m. with a forecast to be on October 11th. And as we continue throughout the day, you can see the low pressure system starts to form, and you do have a lot of cold air being pulled down from Canada. This low pressure system will most likely follow the track of the cold front. As you can see, as we continue, it's pretty much follows that track. And if we were to go a bit closer into the western US, and I'll erase that for you and drive it back a little, you can see that this storm does increase in strength a little bit as time goes on, but on the western flank it is going to be mostly all snow, but most definitely anywhere from the center of the track to east it's going to be an all rain event, no doubt about that. And as we continue, you can see it does deepen as it makes its way towards the US-Canada border. The darker blues are the heaviest snows. And like I said before, boom or bust area in Wyoming and Montana, eastern parts of that area. And even into western, North, and South Dakota, that's where it could be a major factor. If we go back a couple runs, you can see if you're in this area, the western part of North and South Dakota, it was mostly rain. But if we go to this new run, it is actually all snow if you're on the border of western, South and North Dakota. And as we continue, you can see the storm eventually does pull away, but you do actually have big line of severe thunderstorms possibly down in Texas, where it could be a big event for them. And if we go back a couple runs, you can see that it has been there for a while. Now, if you want to take a look at the total precipitation map, this is what it would look like. As you can see, they're anywhere from the range of maybe a half an inch of rain to anywhere from 2 inches, anywhere on the western border of North and South Dakota. And if this was actually all rain, you could see maybe up to 2 feet of snow. And anywhere in these mountain areas, it looks like you will see excessive amounts of 2-3 feet, depending on which model you look at. Now, if we go back to a different model here, just give me one sec to pull it up. The Canadian model, which is an alright model. It's not that trustworthy, but if you were to play it out, you could see, once again, it's a mixed bag pretty much on the western side of North and South Dakota, but in the mountains pretty much, it's going to be all snow, because it's going to be cold enough, and eventually it does pull out, but it does have that severe threat down here. It looks like to show up in central southern Texas, and then eventually that pulls out, and you have another batch of cold air coming down. And if we go to look at one more model, which I think is the best model for winter, as proven by last year, but it could be very different from this year, but we don't have enough proof yet to see if it will be the same model as last year, because this is our first winter storm. And if you were to play out the NAM model by 2 a.m. Monday, you can see the storm that is actually starting to form on the border of Utah and Arizona. And as you continue, the storm starts to increase in strength, drops down to 990, and then on the western border of North Dakota, it does look like to be almost all rain, according to the NAM. But actually, on the South Dakota side, it does look like to be some snow mixing in. And eventually that storm does pull out, but then you do have that severe line threat for Texas and Oklahoma. Now we're gonna go look at pivotal weather here to look at the total snowfall maps from all those models, because it has a Kuchera ratio, which takes impact. It takes in part of the temperatures and how warm the ground level may be. So this is one of the most accurate that you could find according to snow maps. And if you play it out through time, you can see that the snow growth does increase throughout the day. These are, yeah, include the totals at the bottom here. These are all the snow totals in inches, of course. And as you continue throughout the days, and it does increase. Anywhere in this pink area is a foot plus, so anywhere in the mountains you could see anywhere from a foot to anywhere to up to 30 inches according to GFS, maybe even pockets of 40 I found earlier. Yeah, 43 inches if this were to be correct. It would be in the northern part of Wyoming and southern part of Montana. As you can see here, these orange specks are believed of 2 feet plus. Yes, they are down here. And as you go down here south into central and southern Utah, you can see the higher elevations could see anywhere from a foot to 2 feet maybe. And yeah, that's pretty much it from the GFS model. And if we were to go to the European, which has been not so hot recently, but if it doesn't have the Kuchera, so we'll have to go to 10 to 1. So take in mind, if these snowfall totals are a little bit too big, you might have to cut them down a little, but it is reasonable when it comes to the 10 to 1 ratio. It does have that 2 feet plus area in that Wyoming area and southern Montana area like the GFS did. And it does have a good amount of snow into central and southern Utah. And now if we go to the NAM, which I think is by far the best snow map, and we do have the Kuchera one available. And as we play out time, you can see that it does have more of a widespread snow totals in Wyoming. I'll tell you this, the NAM is a great model, but it tends to overproduce a lot. I'm not saying you won't be able to see 50 inches of snow in the highest elevations, but I don't think that 2 feet plus area will be this big. But I could see what it's getting at, because the higher elevations, the colder it is. So if this could be correct, I'm definitely not putting out the window that it can't be correct, but I'm just saying it doesn't look like it will be that big of a snow range. Finally, I just want to take a quick look at this and show you guys there is actually 2 tropical disturbances that have a chance to form. One that is in the Caribbean right now, and the one that is just outside the Caribbean that looks like to go into the Caribbean. This disturbance has a 0% chance of formation in 48 hours and 5 days, 20% to the. So this one doesn't look like it's going to form into much of anything as of right now. And this one looks like to be the same, 20% chance in the next 48 hours and 20% chance in the next 5 days. So these storms look like to anything go out to sea, hopefully, if not, if at all, form into anything. But that will be it for today, guys. I hope you all enjoyed. Make sure to go down and hit that like button and subscribe for more videos. Hope you all have a great day and take care.